All right, we're here for some hot takes. We're not going to be wishy-washy. It's either going to be we love it or we hate it.
Or we agree or disagree.
Yeah, there we go.
No maybes, Dave.
No maybes.
This is going to be really hard for you.
Well, maybe. We might do some maybes. Welcome back to another edition of Bourbon Kingdom. I'm David.
And I'm Zach.
And today we are going to talk about some hot takes.
Yep. So, different kind of video.
It is a different kind of video.
I want to do something a little different, a little fun. And to see if... What were you drinking on, by the way?
Just a little soda.
A little soda action.
A little soda.
What did you do with your 3 pours you had?
I already drank those. I drank those up.
Those things are gone.
I didn't play.
No kidding. Before we start, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notification.
All the good stuff.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Check us out on Patreon, podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, whatever. Anyways, we are going to talk about some hot takes. And these hot takes, by the way, were from people that put in the comment section on things. And I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
So I didn't word it exactly, and I'm not going to show the comments in case I don't want to get somebody blasted for no reason, even though some of you all need to get blasted who are in the comment section occasionally. You know exactly who you are, by the way. You know exactly who you are. With that being said, these hot takes are either we totally agree, disagree, there's no maybes. So you have to have a stance there, Dave.
Listen, I am going to stand firm today.
You'll probably tip over. All right. So do you want to start? You want me to just read them off and then you answer and then I'll...
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
First thing, number 1. We only have 4 of these, by the way.
Yeah, only 4. We can't really afford to do any more than 4.
I know. We got to try to trim this down from a 20-minute video already.
No, it's already going to be 20 minutes.
First one is single barrels better than small batches? Now, let me set this up before you answer. So single barrels would be store picks, your King Kentuckys of the world, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe some of your smoke wagon stuff.
Yes.
You know, small batches would be a lot of like standard stuff, you know, but even like bigger releases, GTSs, WLWs, stuff like that.
Yeah. So you want me to answer now?
I want you to answer.
Yeah, single barrels are better than small batches. In all of my experience, there are lots of good small batches, and there are lots of bad small batches. There are lots of really good single barrels, and I love single barrels. Like I can
already hear the maybe coming out.
No, there's no maybe. I do think that the single barrels, in almost every single way, are superior. I just feel like the personal touch of a single barrel just kind of is the way to go. If I have a tendency in my own collection to like go to more single barrel things, and so I feel like I would always lean single barrel. Again, there are small batches that are wonderful, like we know that. But for me, I think single barrel is the way to go.
So,
I hope he disagrees with me.
I almost thought about it. And I'll tell you why I almost thought about it. I started thinking of like Whiskey of the Year stuff. Whiskey of the Year contenders that we have.
Yep.
I started thinking Russell's 15.
Yep.
Old Fed's 13.
Yep.
You know, Evan Williams 23, or just name a few. The William Heaven Hills, for the most part. You know, all of these things that are just phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. Rare Breed, for example, 1920. Like I can keep going on and on and on about all these small batches. With that being said, at the end of the day, some of the most favorite things I've ever tried, some of the most favorite things I've ever owned have all been single barrels.
Yeah.
And so as much as I think both of them are great, if I had to pick a preference, it'd be single barrels.
Yeah. And like looking at it, we just did a blind of 3 great things. And it's like, I mean, what are you going to choose?
Yeah,
whatever you choose is not going to be a bad thing. But I think for me, and apparently for him, we do agree that single barrels over small batch.
All right. Number 2 is bourbon media / influencers ruining bourbon.
I feel like we're set up for this. Yes, they all are ruining it except for Bourbon Kingdom. Just watch Bourbon Kingdom. Hit the like, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good. Here's what I think. I honestly think that taking us out of the equation, I think.
No, we're exactly in the equation.
No, we are in the equation, but
we're very small fish in a big pond.
But for me, I'm saying take me out of the equation. If I'm looking, I would go, I don't think it's ruining it. I honestly think there is a voice that is going to match your voice somewhere in Whiskey Tube. And because there's a voice that's going to match your, like, what you think is good, you're going to find someone who you can get advice from, or just things that you think are worth it or not worth it. Because there are lots of people who disagree with us. There are lots of people who talk to us and go, we love you all because your palate, like our palates align and stuff like that. And because of that, I think it's really helpful because a lot of us whiskey tubers, our media / whatever you want to call it, we have access to things that sometimes we get it before other people get it, or we get things, we just have an ability to kind of let you know what we think before maybe even it hits your area. And so it kind of lets you know whether or not you want to buy it or not buy it. And so I think we're good for the business in a lot of ways.
So I agree. I will put a caveat on this one. If I had to put an asterisk, could there be things that channels or whatever, like it's really the Fred Minnick effect, right? Like whenever he like puts something as like best bourbon of the year, or he puts something really highly, whatever, if that's Henry McKenna traditionally, Russell's 15 last year, can he have an effect because he's such a big name and a big personality? Great person, have no complaints about Fred. Fred's excellent. Yes, totally. With all that being said, I think bourbon media, if treated and done correctly, is a great thing. I think for you all who don't know a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of these brands reach out. And they reach out whenever we have good takes and when we have bad takes.
Yeah.
And, the honest truth is, I think a lot of brands care about what you all think. Yep. And I think they're willing to listen. I think there are some brands who could care less and don't pay attention to anything because they're doing so well on their own. Like, why do they need to care about anybody's opinion?
Buffalo Trace.
Stop. No, they've been cool.
No, I'm not saying that they're not cool.
But I know a lot of people assume that. No, a lot of people assume that though.
No, they do. But I think they do care. Like
here's my point: is that I think it's not necessarily about our influence. It's about the people who watch us. You all are really like the support of all of that. You guys are really the reason why.
Yeah.
And we take your all's comments into consideration when we think about things. We think of ideas because of that, or takes, or whatever. This video being one, for example.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing overall because from what we have seen, it's positive influence. I think if we were in an industry where, a couple people or whatever had really bad takes and they could really influence that, they could. I think the biggest thing where they say bourbon influencers, media, whatever, have bad influences, because we point out when our bottle's really good and then you can't find it anymore because now everybody wants to find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So, and to be honest with you, I think...
just so you know, get the Calumet 18 now. If you can get it now.
So, I think, honestly, like, that's kind of a little bit of a selfish take on that, because it's like, well, you're hurting me from me finding something. Well, it's like, we're being honest and informational and all that stuff. So,
yeah, I agree with that. All right, so 2 for 2, we've agreed.
We have agreed.
I'm going to make sure he doesn't agree with me on this.
Number 3, sourcing all taste the same, and that if a brand doesn't make their own stuff, then I don't want it. So basically, think of anybody who sources, and think of anybody who, if they're either making their own stuff or not. And it's like, well, I've already had that stuff before. It's all junk, or I don't want it because I can get it from whoever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, agree or disagree?
I'm gonna. You know what? Just for spiciness,
Don't. Just tell me what you want.
I don't agree with that. Like, I think the nuances of the bourbon and what you do with it can dramatically change what you get from an MGP or a Green River or a Barton or any of those. And because of that, I think there is, even though there are a lot of non-producing distilleries, there is an art to what they do.
Agreed.
And because there's an art to what they do, it changes it a little bit. Mm-hmm. There's a base to a lot of things, but if you are able to blend and age and manipulate it in ways, like it doesn't always taste like, oh my gosh, that's MGP, so I know it's MGP. Like, I think there's an artistry to it that these non-producing distilleries have been able to do. Not all of them. A lot of them. I mean, there are a lot of distilleries like that age it maybe for 6 more months in a barrel that they want to age it in, and like, oh, okay, I know that this is Barton and it is what it is, or I know that that's Ross and Squibb and it is what it is. But I mean, there are a lot of good distilleries out there that I think do a really good job of blending and aging in a way that make it their own, that give it their own signature, that do those kind of things. And so it's not all the same, even though you're getting from the same 4 distilleries. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here, like, as he's talking, I'm sitting here looking at a bunch of different bottles I have back here.
No.
And I'm just thinking of, like, the O'Louls of the world, National Barrel Companies of the world, Evernorth, Elkwood, just some different brands. I'm just sitting here and I can see, and they're sourcing a bunch from all these different brands. Like, Nashville has so much stuff. Like, I know a lot of what they have. They have so much stuff from so many different people.
They really do.
That is just phenomenal. And, you brought up a great point with, blending, for example. Like, everybody blends a little different in what people want and look for. And I'm not like, for example, you could take somebody like, Bardstown Bourbon Company. Like, they want to be known as blenders, and like they collab and they do all these awesome and fun things, right?
They do.
But you just can't take great bourbon and throw it together. You have to be able to blend it.
Yeah, you have to.
And Dan does a phenomenal job over there blending.
Yeah.
But so I agree. I don't think all sourcing is the same. I understand where people, especially during COVID, where they bought a lot of cheapened Barton or a lot of cheapened MGP and it was not good.
Yeah.
Happened. I get it.
Yeah.
But I think whenever you have certain places, Smoke Wagon for one, where they're sitting here getting a bunch of really nice MGP, they have a great relationship with them. Aaron knows how to blend. Just all that kind of stuff can be done and calculated correctly. I think it's great. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with it whatsoever.
No.
So, and then the last one. Oh, wait. So we agreed on that one too.
I can't believe it. 3.
We're 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Last one. Craft has caught up to the big boys.
I am going to disagree with this.
Okay.
I think craft has come a long way.
Totally agree.
I do. But if I'm looking and I'm thinking through the things that I go after, the things that I want to drink, they still have a tendency to be big boy distilleries.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think I talked about this in a video before. Like, a lot of the big boy distilleries have not just rested on the laurels. I think they feel the pressure of craft distilleries in a lot of ways. And where the craft distilleries are not scared to push the envelope to kind of try some different things, put some different blends together, try some different, kind of Frankenstein it all together. I think it has pushed the big boy distilleries to go, you know what? It's okay for us to try some things, and if it doesn't hit with everybody, it's okay.
Yeah.
But we're going to try it because we got to push the envelope too. We can't just let these little guys push the envelope, because if the little guys keep pushing the envelope and it hits, people are going to start going to that and going, well, I know if I want a rare breed, I'm just going to, I know I can go to Wild Turkey for that. But if I want something crazy, I'm going to go to, I don't know, the Exceptional Series for that, or I'm going to go to Four Gate for that, or I'm going to go to, all these things. And so in a lot of ways, I think the pressure that has come from good craft distilleries, they have made the mothership distilleries kind of like take notice. And for that, I think they're still ahead of I think the big boys are still ahead of the crafts.
So again, 4 for 4, we agree.
Dang it.
But here would be my take on that. As much as I agree with that on everything, there's a ton of great craft whiskey out there.
There is.
They're either making it on their own,
they're
blending it, they're sourcing it, whatever, right? And there's a lot of different reasons for it. There are people who have been at big distilleries who have started small ones. There are people who have connections at these big ones who are sourcing correctly. There's a whole bunch of different reasons why. Technology is caught up. I think technology has really revolutionized a lot of this stuff to where, there are certain distilleries that's always done it this way for a long time. They couldn't really figure out why it worked. And then they figured out why it worked with technology, and then they're able to duplicate some of that down. I think yeast, I think oak, I think there's a ton of things, right? But I think it's just so hard for some of these smaller craft distilleries to catch up to these big boys, simply because of the one simple reason, and it's money. And it's like literally that's just what it comes down to. They can build infrastructure, they can hire people, they can hire, again, I said them earlier, Bardstown Bourbon Company is a great example. They built all this stuff out, they source, they do everything. They went and got Steve Nally. They were able to spend a whole bunch of money, and then whenever they needed to spend more money, they basically got bought out by a hedge fund, and they're just turning and burning as we're going.
They're no longer a little boy.
No, they're not. No, and I would put them especially the combination of them and Green River together.
Yeah, they're
what they're doing is incredible.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard for that, and I think it will be always hard for them. But I think the nice thing is that we're able to ask that question, and it wasn't, because I think at one point in time with craft, it was kind of like, well, there's a few, there's a couple.
Yeah.
But now I think there's a lot more than just a couple, and I think that's really awesome. And I think, with craft, just like any other business, it's, they figure out what works for them, they figure out what doesn't work for them. And, the good ones survive and bad ones don't. It's all that stuff.
It's the whole idea, like a rising tide lifts all boats. It just is what it is. Like everybody kind of upping their game has created everybody to up their game. So it's super cool. We are in a great time for bourbon. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I think it's even getting better too.
I do think we're in a great time for bourbon. I think there's some things, is there going to be some movement in that where some of these smaller guys don't survive? All that stuff is going to happen. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be good for bourbon, and the good stuff is going to, the cream is going to rise to the top, and it's going to be, I think, beneficial for all of us. So tell us what you think. Tell us, what's your hot take? We'd love to hear it, because we'll do another video on some hot takes if you put them in there. We love to do that. So until next time.
We'll see you.
We'll see you.